It was just the black. Oh my gosh. I'm so sleepy.
That's right.
Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. Nicholas Godejohn's biological father is finally speaking out about his son's appeal in court. He's on social media, joining pro-Nicholas Facebook groups and speaking out about Nick. Here's what he wrote most recently. What did happen today? Nick received in the mail the state's briefing on why they don't feel the courts should accept his appeal, as well as the testimony of Dr. W. Nick said he was not impressed. What this means is he is now able to file a rebuttal to their claims. For Dr. W has an extensive medical background as a neuropsychologist speculating on ASD, and Nick feels is the only doctor thus far who has understood him correctly, and his testimony should be heard. From his appellate's brief, the jury did not hear the evidence from an expert neuropsychologist specializing in ASD, stating that Nick's autism played a role in his social relationship with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her ability to manipulate him as a highly susceptible person. Dr. W's testimony proves that. A neuropsychologist with experience in autism would have explained this to the jury, that Gypsy Rose Blanchard's manipulation of Mr. Godejohn over 2.5 years, combined with Mr. Godejohn's ASD Asperger's, which would have negated Nick's ability to deliberate. A specialist would have explained that Nick's condition caused him to surrender his deliberation to Gypsy Blanchard's logic because he took her statements as literal facts when she said that unaliving her mother was the only way they could be together and that it was up to him to rescue her. Had a specialist like Dr. W testified, Mr. Godejohn would not have been convicted of first degree. The specialist would have testified that Mr. Godejohn's autism characteristics are always present and cannot be separated from him. The specialist would also testify that Mr. Godejohn is impaired in understanding social cues and how to respond to them. This is just another delay, but does not mean it is bad news. Keep the prayers and well wishes coming his way, and that his rebuttal is accepted. I have a lot of concerns about whether or not Nick will be able to win an appeal at this stage. And I've helped put together a podcast concerning my thoughts and feelings about Nick's imprisonment and the state of autism in prison with my friend Lauren from Mothership Explores podcast. Please listen to the first part of the podcast here with a link for the rest of it below this video. We start off with a clip. Gypsy Rose Blanchard allegedly just shared this video on her social media, speaking negatively about Nicholas.
Trying to demonize Gypsy Rose and defend Nicholas Godejohn. I am so sick of seeing the people on here defending colored autistics just because they're autistic, because you know damn well if that was a woman or a man of color who committed that act, you would not be giving him the grace that you are. You would not be sitting there giving excuses for the fact that Nicholas Godejohn, there's been proof that he has sick necrophilic fantasies, grape fantasies, wanted to grape Gypsy's mom's corpse, and has shown himself to be a danger to himself and other people. But you guys are still gonna say him, you cannot be manipulated into murdering somebody, okay? I'm sorry, you can't. You cannot be manipulated into murdering someone. And if he was that high support needs, then someone should have been monitoring him.
Welcome to the Mothership Explores. We are talking about Nick Godejohn today and what his life was like before he met Gypsy, what his life is like now, what his life would be like if he was out of prison. I don't think that's ever going to happen. He's always going to be in a controlled situation, but his life could be significantly different if he were in a mental health facility as opposed to prison.
For sure. And I'm Katie here from Down the Rabbit Hole at Bedtime. Of course, I'm extremely interested in talking about this subject. I've been covering it on my channel as well. And I have a long history of doing research on autism in prison. In my own personal opinion, our prison system requires in-depth reform. And someone like Nicholas Godejohn is one of the reasons why reform is so required. So, of course, when this case first came to light in the public, one of the most interesting issues up for debate was the fact that Nicholas Godejohn is diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. He allegedly, and it was found to be true in a court of law, committed the actual murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. But many of us are questioning like what his capacity was, what he understood about what he was doing, and could he have been manipulated into performing this act?
What are your thoughts on that, Katie? Do you think he could be manipulated into this?
This may not be the most popular perspective, but from my point of view, I definitely believe that Nick deserved some kind of understanding from the court about his developmental disability. For me, this whole situation is like a huge nightmare for a family, for a mother of a child with autism. I think there are a lot of us out there that would have a lot of concerns about our child with a developmental disability participating in behaviors once they become an adult that we can't control or maybe stop them from participating in, especially when we don't know about it. So I know that there's a large group of people out there that are very inclined to want support and help for Nick, and I am definitely one of those people.
My hope is that this podcast can be, if nothing else, a cautionary tale for parents who have adult children with autism.
Not just children with autism. You and I talked about this a little bit. It's not just about autism and the spectrum. I also feel that what we're going to talk about tonight could encompass a lot of other issues, mental health issues that we see in childhood or as a child grows into an adolescent, things like bipolar disorder, severe depression. When you have a child that is dealing with any of these conditions, there are a lot of concerns that a parent will have as they're moving forward out into the world.
Agree. I shouldn't have been so specific by saying autism. All children, whether they're neurodivergent or not, need guidance, even into adulthood. But the kids who have anything else that's going on need extra care and extra precautions to keep them safe. It seems like Nick didn't have a lot of parental guidance, and he was kind of just living his days on his own before this happened. And he was kind of set up for the perfect victim for someone to use when he's lonely.
Right. And we should say from the beginning that we understand every person is an individual, right? There's such a huge spectrum when it comes to autism. Everybody is so different. We all know, they say constantly over and over again, if you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person. So we understand that everybody is different, and we're not trying to lump everybody into the category of having these kinds of precautions that may need to be taken in their life because they're on the spectrum. But we do know that there's a category of individuals who may need some extra support and help. And for me, I believe that Nick did fall into that category. You and I have talked a little bit about who Nick is. You wrote up a great biography for him. He was born in 1999 in Big Bend, Wisconsin. He was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum level 2, and he committed his crime at 26 years of age. But his mother reported his developmental age to be around 15 to 16 years old at the time.
Right. And true, everybody is unique, everybody is different, but every child needs protection and guidance. So that was kind of the point that I was trying to make, is that, even if your child doesn't have a disability, they still need that guidance. They still need protection. But the ones who do have anything going on may need a little extra. I think my point is, know your child. Know them well.
Right. Unfortunately, I've definitely seen situations where parents do try to know their children and do try to provide support, and they can still have some irreparable behaviors occur. But for Nick, what we're aware of is that it seems as though he didn't have a lot of support and intervention throughout his childhood. Okay, friends, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow as we head down another rabbit hole. And please check out Mothership Explores. I will link that channel below. And you will see several podcasts that I've participated in as well. Much love to all of you. Hope to see you again soon.